What would you do if an unseen force wasn't just haunting your home, but tearing your family apart? This is the story of the Harper family, who moved to a quiet farm in Tennessee, hoping for a fresh start. But what they found instead was something far beyond their understanding. Whispers in the night, violent attacks, and a voice that seemed to know their darkest secrets. This was no ordinary haunting. This was a force determined to destroy them from the inside out. The Harpers were a family of five: William, his wife Margaret, their teenage daughter Abigail, and two young sons, Thomas and Henry. Life on the farm started peacefully enough. The land was fertile, the neighbors were friendly, and the Harpers were optimistic about their new beginning. But that peace was shattered one night when Abigail woke to the sound of scratching at her bedroom window. At first, she thought it was just a tree branch swaying in the wind, but when she lit her lantern and peered outside, nothing was there. The scratching persisted, louder and more deliberate, until Margaret came to check on her. As soon as the door opened, the noise stopped. The next morning, strange things began happening. The milk jug toppled over on its own, tools disappeared from the barn, and faint whispers echoed through the hallways. The whispers grew louder at night, forming words that made Abigail's blood run cold. "Leave this place." The activity quickly escalated. Objects flew across the room, dishes shattered for no reason, and the children's toys were found arranged in unsettling patterns. One night, William was jolted awake by the sound of heavy footsteps outside his bedroom door. When he opened it, there was nothing there. Just the icy chill of an unseen presence. The entity seemed to focus its wrath on Abigail. She began waking with bruises on her arms and scratches on her back, as if something had attacked her in the night. She also started hearing a voice that no one else could, a deep, mocking tone that called her name and laughed when she cried. Abigail's siblings began noticing odd changes in her. She'd spend hours sitting in silence, staring at walls or the empty fields beyond the house. One day, Thomas asked her who she was talking to, only for Abigail to respond, "You don't see her? She's standing right behind you." Desperate for answers, William sought help from the local pastor. The man came to the house with a Bible and holy water, determined to banish whatever was tormenting the family. But as he began his prayers, the voice erupted in laughter, mocking his words. The pastor's Bible was torn from his hands and thrown across the room. He left in a hurry, muttering about a powerful force he could not fight. Margaret began researching the history of the land, uncovering a chilling story. In the 1800s, a woman named Eleanor had lived there, accused of witchcraft by local townsfolk. It was said she cursed the land with her dying breath after being condemned and executed. Margaret's research revealed that every family who had lived there since had experienced tragedy or fled under mysterious circumstances. The family's breaking point came one stormy night. Abigail was sitting by the fireplace when the flames suddenly roared, casting shadows that twisted and writhed like living things. The voice boomed through the room, calling out each family member's name in turn. Then, as the wind howled outside, the door slammed open, and an invisible force knocked Abigail to the ground. William and Margaret tried to pull her away, but the entity seemed to have a hold on her. Abigail screamed as her body was lifted into the air, her limbs contorted as if by some unseen hands. "You cannot stop me," the voice growled. The other children huddled in the corner, crying and holding on to each other as objects flew around the room. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the attack stopped. Abigail collapsed to the floor, unconscious. The house fell silent, but the family knew they could not stay another night. The Harpers fled their farm the very next morning, leaving everything behind. They moved to a nearby town and never spoke of what happened again. Abigail eventually recovered, but she refused to talk about the nights on the farm. The farm remained abandoned for years, its fields overgrown, and its house left to decay. Locals whispered about the Harper Curse, claiming to hear screams and laughter echoing from the empty house on stormy nights. Years later, a group of paranormal investigators spent a night in the house. Their recordings captured chilling evidence: faint voices, the sound of footsteps, and a blood-curdling scream that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The team left before dawn, vowing never to return. To this day, no one knows what tormented the Harper family. Some say it was Eleanor's vengeful spirit. Others believe it was something far darker. Whatever it was, one thing is certain: the Harper farm is a place best left alone. If this story sent shivers down your spine, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more chilling tales. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable? Share your story in the comments. It might inspire our next video.